But surprisingly, a lot of the time, the ways we treat ourselves as adults have a lot less to do with pizza and cake. And we all know that the ultimate way to treat yourself is like, some people like a little retail therapy, maybe like a designer bag. Ooh, who's she with her designer bag? For me, this was a big decision. It's not something I treat lightly. I thought about it for a real long time. And I did some research, like I was treating a bag like a freaking car. And finally, I narrowed it down to one and click, purchase complete. When it arrived, I was excited and immediately took her out on the town. And I gotta tell you, it was really weird because I noticed, and this is no BS here, literally people started treating me differently when I got this like designer bag. Everywhere I went, it was like, right this way, ma'am. Is this food up to your standards, miss? It was weird. It was Twilight Zone vibes. I didn't know a bag could give me this kind of like importance, I guess.
Of executions, both standard and barbaric. And while I do think it's important to talk about these things, not only for the victims who were destroyed by this tragedy, but also so that the evils that were done by man are never forgotten lest they be repeated, and while I think all that's important, I also want to say that if you are sensitive to these topics, it's not worth your own health and mentality. So again, if this video is something that you don't want to deal with, or if some of the topics that I briefly mentioned are too intense, feel free to click off now. And also, for those who are sticking around, the video is going to be a bummer. There's not a lot of jokes or fun to be had with this one. Like I said, I think it's important to talk about, but it's just going to be sad and a lot. And I can't wait to get done filming this so that I don't have to think about it anymore and I can just push all this trauma onto you all. Before we get into that, and it's just, sad for the next half hour, however long this video is, why not do something?
Well, the community in Macon County didn't even know that they had a syphilis problem. You see, when people in the community got sick, they would go to the doctor, and the doctor would be like, oh, you have bad blood. Doctors actually diagnosed black men with bad blood. I'm using quotes here. Back then, bad blood was kind of a catch-all term for basically any disease. Like if a black man was sick, it was always a case of bad blood. Sometimes it was just fatigue. Sometimes it was actually syphilis. It's important to know up front that the men weren't actually told they had syphilis, just bad blood. Even though the doctors knew it was syphilis, they didn't tell them. You get it? You following? Good. So to everyone in Macon County, they just thought they were getting free treatment for their bad blood. So the community is super jazzed about this. For the first time, it seems like someone cares about their well-being and was willing to offer them some different types.
Vaccines have saved hundreds of millions of lives in the past century, and in general, the advance of medicine has saved billions of lives. If you ignore the power of science, you're not being honest with the lessons of history. And if you ignore the corrupting nature of power and money within institutions, including governments and companies, that led to the suffering and death of hundreds of millions in the past century, you are once again not being honest with the lessons of history. I announced that I will be having this conversation with Albert Bourla, Pfizer CEO, and a lot of people wrote to me. I would like to say that I was and am.
Now, some of you may have heard of Henrietta before, but some of you may be like, who's that? Well, get this. What if I told you Miss Lax changed the world and saved all of our lives? 'Cause she did. And how crazy is it that you probably don't know anything about her? At least I didn't. And maybe this is the first time you've even heard her name. So today, my friends, we are deep diving into a time not that long ago, actually less than 100 years ago, that was facing a whole bunch of diseases we don't even have to worry about today because of Henrietta. So in order to understand Henrietta's story, we have to talk about how the foundation of trust was broken by a few important doctors back in the early 1900s. So let me open up my book. Oh, it's already open. I opened it, the Henrietta chapter. We're in New York City, 1912. The Titanic is literally sinking. It's like